In the spirit of respect, authenticity, and reconciliation, the town of Slate Lake honors and acknowledges that we are situated on the traditional lands of Sawridge First Nation within Treaty 8 territory, home to Indigenous, Métis, and Inuit peoples who have occupied these lands since time immemorial. Councilor Gromlich?
Motion to accept the agenda as presented.
Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call to question those in favor. And that is carried. Okay, we can move right into our reports and new business. Report A is potential council info sessions. Josh?
Good evening, your worship and council. I just have a report here just for information. This is information about potential council info sessions that are planned in the new year. This is meant to promote good governance and communication by preparing prospective candidates for campaigning and public office. Anyone, so that we invite members of the community if they wish to enter into the democratic process and be a participant, and they can learn about what the roles and responsibilities of being a member of council and what also running a campaign. Given that next year the town of Slave Lake will be having its general election, administration has followed the example of the town of Fairview and will be hosting public information sessions once a month throughout 2025 to educate members of the public about the municipal election process, requirements, campaigning, and duties of a councillor. This is in light of recent events. There's our current council. There will now be at least two new council members of council in the next upcoming election rather than just one. So in light of the recent resignations, we'll have in the upcoming election, we'll have at least two new members of council. So it would be all the more reason to have a opportunity to invite members of the community to learn about what it takes to be a member of council. And it says there will be these once these vacancies are filled. Each information session will draw on information from over guidelines from running and expectations for running a campaign, as also information from the Local Authority Elections Act and the Municipal Government Act. The sessions will be hosted and conducted by the Chief Administrative Officer and have been tentatively scheduled for these dates. As you see here, it'll be once a month from January through September. The sessions will be held from 7 till 8 p.m. And they'll go over things like eligibility and campaigning and the roles and jurisdiction of council, pecuniary interest, town of Slave Lake structure, and personal wellness, with also each questions to ask as following those. Basic requirements such as requiring to be a resident of the town of Slave Lake at the time of registration and election, and will also address common misconceptions that members of the public may have about council and its relation to the province and other jurisdictions. Highlight remuneration policies and other trainings that council members are expected to attend throughout their term. As part of good governance within municipalities, it also includes highlighting the pecuniary interest. So to highlight so that there aren't any, to avoid conflicts of interest between members of council, of course, and a particular issue that is being discussed. And also, good governance also requires that candidates and councillors are familiar with the structure of the town and the organization, how it carries out council's vision for the municipality, and the respective roles of individual employees and departments. And by ensuring that which services belong to which department, and to direct such matters of the town to be dealt with by the respective administration. And this is to ensure a healthy and cooperative relationship between administration and council, and also to it's incumbent that we allow our members of the public to be aware of this so they can be prepared should they obtain a seat on a council. Also, we'll be highlighting the use of social media, as important as it is in our modern world, and especially in campaigning and as elected officials. It is also important to recognize that it has been used to spread hateful comments, and candidates and elected officials are often the prime targets for such attacks. And cyberbullying and other threats are all too common online, and these sessions will be meant to also include a portion that will go over strategies to avoid getting caught in that toxic discord and what to do with online threats directed towards you. So by preparing potential candidates for campaigning, it is of the opinion of administration that candidates will be better equipped to address the needs and concerns of the community. And it is the hope of administration that the community member is able to have their decision, whether or not a member of the community chooses to run for council or not. It is the hope that by attending these info sessions that they are able to make their decision as informed as possible, and make sure that they are prepared to serve this community if they so chose. The options before council are to accept this report as information.
Councillor Hughes.
Thank you for the report, Josh. Just a question for you. To your knowledge, is the town of Fairview the only other town that is currently doing this type of training then?
It is the only one to my knowledge, but it was at a recent Alberta Municipalities Conference in September. It was one of the seminars was to strongly advise that municipalities take the time to advise members of the community whether to prepare them to run for what's like to become a candidate or to run as a member of council.
Okay. Interesting. I just wanted to comment that I think it's really great. I think it's definitely a necessity when you sit in this chair to have the proper training. And I think that we definitely should be doing our part to arm future candidates with the tools and knowledge that we possibly can before they get here. So thank you.
Councillor Adams.
I agree. I was going to say much the same thing, but the one thing I'd really like to make sure we cover is all the obligations that there are before you even get elected, as far as reporting afterwards, making sure you're keeping track of your expenses, all that fun. Yeah. Like having that timeline on reporting is important. Even if you don't win, you still need to do it. I like the idea of doing this because even if no one else was doing it, mainly to open your eyes on what the expectation is for council, understand exactly what the process is so you can run a more effective campaign and we can get that out there a little better and what the rules are. I know we've seen a number of things go sideways during the election process that weren't supposed to happen, that happened. So even just clearing that up, where you can put a sign and when those have to come down from certain areas, like it's important for candidates to know. So educating them this way, I think is much better than people trying to do a search on the internet and finding random bits and pieces here and there. It just makes it better and more fair for everyone.
I would agree with that signage piece that Councillor Adams brought up. Well, no, that was a very good point, because if you Google election signs, you're going to get information from so many municipalities, and not all of them are going to be in line with our local Elections Authorities Act for Alberta. I wish that this was my notes from reading this is I wish that there was something like this before we made the decision to run. Attended a lot of council meetings prior to running, but it doesn't really give you the full picture as to how council is structured. I also really like the portion of municipal roles and responsibilities compared to provincial and federal, what each level of government is responsible for. I think that's an important thing to touch on, because you can come in here thinking you're going to change the world and that not be in the wheelhouse of municipal council. So I think it's a great idea. Councillor Grantlich.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea too. Just out of curiosity, like who leads the charge on this? Is it multiple staff members? Is it?
It would be myself and the chief administrative officer. And so that would be hosting these sessions monthly.
Sorry, I guess this is a vague question. Is it, are we putting together the info we want, or is it kind of coming from that AM conference? Do they give us a book for dummies that they want us to go through?
Oh, I see what you mean. We kind of followed what the example of what Fairview did, Fairview gave us. But also I took some of the examples from the Alberta Municipalities Conference. So particularly in the aspect of cyber awareness and making sure that, and setting boundaries between yourself and members of the, and administration, and also members of the public if needed.
No,
Perfect. Thank you.
Councillor Adams. Oh, Councillor Choba is, you go first.
No, you should.
Councillor Choba.
No, I just want to highlight that I think it's very important. Great idea, and I echo what the mayor said that some of us needed this before. I wish this was present when I was thinking about or making plans to run for council, because this will bring a bit more meaning and some perspective that you don't get online. The reality of council, you can't get that online. And so I really support this and I like this. I'm looking forward to what this would look like. I just caution that when we're reviewing what we got from Fairview, theirs is a template that we can use, but we should build off. I think there's more that needs to be added based on what's shared here. There's more that still needs to come into this. So I guess it's a comment, but more of a caution that we should kind of look to it to make it more extensive so that it addresses other ideas and other misconceptions about council.
I will say too that Josh did send out an email to all of us asking, all of the councillors asking what we learned on council or what we wish we would have known, to provide some anecdotal commentary. So I hope that it will be like it should be tailored appropriately to us, to what we've learned in the post-COVID political era. Councillor Adams.
Motion to accept his information.
Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Called to question, those in favor. And that is carried. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Okay, our next report. Turning it over to you.
Yeah, good evening, your worship and members of council. The purpose of this report is to notify Town of Slave Lake Council of the recent resignation of Ali Moellem. On November 7th, 2024, the Chief Administrative Officer received in writing the formal resignation of Councillor Ali Moellem, which is effective immediately. Referencing the Municipal Government Act, Resignation 161, the resignation of a councillor must be in writing and given to the Chief Administrative Officer. A chief elected official appointed by council who reigns in the office of chief elected official remains on the council as councillor. The resignation is effective on the date it is received by Chief Administrative Officer, even if a later date is set out in the resignation. The Chief Administrative Officer must report the resignation at the first meeting after receiving the resignation. The necessary steps of resignation have been followed. Tonight's discussion, in accordance in the Municipal Governments Act, vacancy in position of councillor 162A, council must hold a by-election to fill a vacancy on council unless the vacancy occurs January 1st in the year of a general election, or the council consists of 6 or more councillors and the vacancy occurs in 18 months before a general election and there is only 1 vacancy, or in 12 months before a general election and the number of councillors remaining is 1 more than the majority of number of councillors comprising the council under section 143. At this time, there is no need to hold a by-election as it is less than 12 months before the general election and the number of councillors remaining is at least 1 more than the majority of councillors comprising council under section 143, which is 5 councillors. If council proceeded with a by-election at this time, this would be a process that the Ministry of Municipal Affairs would advise against due to the timeline of the general election. Meaning, Nomination period for general election will begin January 1st, 2025, and the election date is October 20th, 2025. Nomination period of a potential by-election will begin January 1st, 2025, and the election date is March 7th, 2025, meaning we would be holding two nomination periods at the same time and overlapping election periods. The successful candidates of the potential by-election would hold their seat for 6 months before having to renominate for the general election in October. Process. The election process is undergoing changes which have commenced and will be applied to the general election. We would then have to apply the new regulations to the by-election. Note that training from municipal affairs has yet to be released on these processes. The ministry also advised that having two elections overlapping could lead to the following: voter confusion on timelines and election processes, disinterest to run as the candidate would only be in office for 6 months, process difficulties with the logistics of running two elections. Incurred costs. The estimated cost to host a by-election is $15,000, and a year-to-date totals for by-elections is $30,000. This is not including the 2021 and 2025 election costs. At this time, we're asking council to accept as information. If you have any further questions, please let me know.
No question. It's kind of a comment. I was, until I read the report, I was kind of gonna opt to suggest we have a by-election to kind of lessen our workloads and maybe give a couple people the opportunity to see what it's like for a year and then maybe they'd run again. But after reading the report and municipal affairs advice, obviously not the best idea to do. So love to have a couple colleagues join us to lighten our workload, but doesn't seem like it's the best idea unless all of you have a rebuttal that I will gladly go with.
Counselor Adams.
Just looking for clarification on one point. You're saying year-to-date is 30,000?
Yes, for by-elections. So that was the mayor by-election and then the councilor.
Oh, term to date.
Yeah, term to date. Sorry. Yeah, sorry, not year to date.
I thought that too.
That's
Yeah.
where I was getting confused.
No, sorry for about that.
And I kind of mirror yours too. I was actually going to come in here. My intent today was to try and push a by-election to try and get that short little piece, because having only 5 people on council makes it very difficult to hit quorum. But having this new news today with the Ministry of Municipal Affairs advising against, it's kind of hard to go against our the ones that make our rules. But I still struggle with it.
I share a very similar sentiment. The workload gets fairly onerous. And I thought it would be a good opportunity to do so. I didn't realize that with the timing of the election that it would end up being 6 months of on council. And to be quite honest, I think everyone here would share that it probably takes about 12 months to kind of figure out what you're doing. I was a little more, if it would have been an early January election, I would have been a little more comfortable with it. I'm concerned with the cost. As we will also be incurring the general election costs as a municipality that we're going through budget right now to determine. So I was hoping to come in with a different perspective, but the details from municipal affairs, while disappointing, are well done. So delightful report, but.
Yeah, it may not be the direction you wanted, but I did have several phone calls with them this morning and just to confirm all the details, and that was what they were advising.
Counselor Hughes.
Yeah, I think I would just echo the sentiment. It's not exactly what I was hoping for either, but I think if municipal affairs is recommending that's what we should be doing at this point in time.
Okay. Counselor Adams.
So just a question then on the issue.
Mhm.
We're looking at, we'd essentially be having somebody come in running for an election for 2 elections at the same time. So they'd have to get nominations for the main election, nominations for the by-election, sorry, and then campaign for one.
And then campaign for another.
And then campaign for the other. And then are you still limited on your yearly?
And this is where, when we're getting into the processes of running by-elections, general elections with talking to municipal affairs, it is actually unheard of to do it at the same time. Now, I'm not saying it can never be done, but that's where it gets confusing for nominees, and then throughout the whole process, we'll have, like, we do this anyways, but confirm with the Local Authorities Election Act and Municipal Affairs, because that's when we get into the weeds of, running for an election where it can be confusing. And for example, to nomination advertising, we would be advertising nomination periods at the same time, but for different periods of time, if that makes sense. So
Your
running,
campaign expense limits would also run
Yes.
into issues as well.
yeah, so there's just, as we go into the process, there's going to be more hiccups if we were to proceed.
Councillor Gramlich.
Hypothetically, I've had enough and I decide to resign, or anyone here does, what could happen next? Did Municipal Affairs advise anything if we get down to 4? Does it trigger an election, or what happens then?
To comfortably give you answer that I'm 100% sure on, I would have to double check the MGA because then we're getting into, maybe special powers of the Municipal Affairs. If that's information that you want to bring to council, I can. I just don't want to say 100% factual when I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, I was just more curious because you're
That would most likely trigger a by-election, I would say.
I believe there's also certain powers in the MGA where the CAO can step in on, and the minister has to be appointed. Go ahead. Say that the
Yeah, like
minister can
if-
step in and appoint the CAO. So there are some ways around it. If
Yeah,
that's-
there is hypothetical scenarios, but to get 100% correct answer, we would need to be in
That's
that
fine.
specific scenario.
Councillor Adams.
It's not borrowed trouble. I move to accept council resignation notification report as information.
So motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, we'll move forward with our CAO update. Cal is our acting CAO.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So economical developments, they're working on some grants in Alberta, Travel Alberta Rural Development and Promotion Fund, up to $150,000, no matching funding required. Small community opportunity program, up to $100,000, 10% to be covered by the town. Investment attraction package, new business investment attraction, video and new photograph database. Northern and regional economic development grant, up to $300,000, 50% to be covered by the town. The department is no longer pursuing this grant as it requires the most significant investment by the town. Hotelier and apartment development attraction package completed and sent out to 21 hotels. Confirming advertising clients for the MRC 2024-2025 season. All existing clients have been contacted, waiting for response from 5 business/organizations. In the finance world, the finance has been working on the 2025 and 2026 operating and capital budget. Public Works, they installed the Christmas decorations downtown along Main Street. That is complete. Preparing for the yard and equipment for the winter. Projects, grind and fill line painting is complete downtown. The pole hangings, of course, have been complete. Working with other departments with the capital budget planning and undertaking review of the municipal development standards. Fire department, total calls to date, 2024 is 609 as of November 7th. Fire service survey or summary. October 2024 is fire prevention month. The open house was held in Widewater, Slave Lake, Smith from Flatbush. School fire safety presentations took place in the schools. Community services, they're doing some training. 11 staff completed swim ability instructor training. The pool schedule changes, or they'll be open Thanksgiving Day from 10:30 till 3. Aquafit now offered during senior swim. Aquafit trial day offered on Saturday, October 24th, was very successful. 29 attended. Yeah. Facilities and parks. Facilities are getting their snow equipment ready. The green machine and the tool cat getting ready for the snow. Slave Lake minor hockey bookings and other user groups are in full swing. The department is working on closing out the 2024 capital budget or capital projects and potential 2025 projects. Recreational services, the SLMH, Slave Lake Minor Hockey, is in full swing. The coaches meeting was a success. The Northern Lakes College pre-planning will start next month. The Treaty 8 hockey tournament is tentatively booked for the last week in March. Recreation and programming. The youth program, the Gold Girls, has been a continued success. They, along with Kennedy, collaborated with the pool staff to include Aquafit in the program in October. Fall camp starts next week. Youth events, Slave Lake, the YES program, where young grade 6 to 12 can join for a fun evening of activities and games. Looking ahead, planning for soccer in the spring. Adult programming will increase with increased drop-ins and registration. Ballin class is doing another round of sessions. And they're basically planning the Frost Fest. Any questions?
Counselor Adams.
First, the grind and fill thing, I want to give you a thumbs on that. I think it's already outlasted the last paint job in this just this short period of time. So I'm really looking forward to how that's going to spin out for the year. A couple of my questions run around on page 1 there through the grant applications. Not sure how much you can answer by being in the acting position, but does the Travel Alberta grant compete with the Tourism Society was what my main one.
That I don't know.
Counselor Hughes.
I'm happy to address that if that's okay with you. It does not. It is a separate grant completely from a current one that the Tourism Society did also put in for, but it does not compete.
Good. Can I keep going?
Yep.
All right.
You won.
Also,
Well, sorry, I did just want to make a note that whatever Jason is doing in the economic development and kind of tourism, particularly within the town boundary, we are coordinating so that that doesn't happen and we're not both going after the same things and competing. So I just wanted to raise awareness that we're making sure that that exact thing doesn't happen.
yeah, no, we've talked about that in the past, so it's nice to see it's being implemented.
Yeah.
So in number 2, we are not planning to do anything that would fall under the Northern Regional Economic Development Grant. My main question there is, so we have nothing we're doing that would fall under that. I know it takes a bigger financial obligation for the town. I think it hits 50%, but that's still 50% we're not paying if it's something that we're doing anyway. Is there anything falling within that?
I'm not too sure.
Counselor Hughes. Weigh in.
So this NRED grant is one of the grants that ANCA and the Tourism Society will potentially go after for our tourism growth plan.
Right, but I don't know if it would necessarily mean we're in competition against tourism to get that money.
I don't know.
So I was
on
just
that one,
wondering
but-
if we're dropping something that we should not be dropping that we could be still doing.
Yeah, I do know from what I do know of kind of Jason's plan, I believe he had, like he said, strong ideals to pursue the NRED grant. But in fact, Travel Alberta came out with this other grant and it was kind of unexpected. They just released a bunch of different grants and kind of new opportunities within the last couple of weeks. So I believe he may have changed his strategy accordingly, just because that grant was way less in matching, right? Whereas the NRED is 50%. But that's all I can speak
Are
to
we-
in terms of what I know.
Could I ask that we make do you need a motion for this? I just want to know if we can have clarification on that brought forward by
We can put it on.
the CAO when he's back.
Yeah, we can put it on management task list.
Mhm.
There's only
That
one.
requires motion though, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Make a motion that administration brings back an answer regarding the Northern Regional Economic Development Grant and whether or not we have other opportunities there. More of a clarification than needing a motion, but anyways,
At least it gets on the,
you get what I'm. Okay,
do you have more?
I do, but there's motion on the floor now.
Okay, motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call the question, those in favor? And that is carried.
Thank you.
Continue on.
You can answer this one. I suspect what it is. Under the Public Works section, it says officer revocation HVAC. Is that office relocation?
Yeah, that's,
HVAC?
yeah, they're doing some rentals in the water treatment plant. So they're just relocating it.
I just wanted to clarify because I was trying to figure out officer revocation. Perfect. And then another one that would be for Jeff, I guess, is when do we expect in the report here, we mentioned the MNP LLP policing review that's happening in partnership with the MD. I would like to know, when are we expecting that to be completed? You know,
I'm not sure when the deadline or what the timeline for completion is. I know that they finished their round of interviews. So I assume it's in progress.
just waiting.
Just
Okay,
waiting.
I didn't see the summary. Okay,
Yeah,
good enough
we
for
haven't-
me. I
we
can ask
haven't-
him that again tomorrow.
We haven't received that back yet, but we did have interviews, Zoom interviews within the last, I want to say 30 days. With various people in the community and on both councils. Okay, anything further for the CIO update? Counselor Adams,
Motion to accept his information, please.
thank you. Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Called to question, those in favor. And that is carried. Okay, management task list.
A lot smaller than ever.
It is a lot smaller. We'll add, obviously, Counselor Adams' request on there. Anything else that needs to be motioned? Counselor Adams,
I waited.
thank you.
Motion to accept his information.
Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Can you minimize that, please? So I can see Andrew. Thank you. Called question, those in favor. And that is carried. Question period. Counselor Hughes.
I'm just curious now, it's just kind of popped into my head. I think in light of our earlier presentation here regarding council resignation, is there something within our policy or our own bylaw that we need to possibly revisit? I do know tonight we had a question about who or the number of people that are required to be in person at a meeting. And I'm just wondering if we're going to hit any future snags in the next several months with our own bylaw, for instance, regarding attendance.
I did review our own bylaw. I'll weigh in on that. I did review our own, the MGA doesn't specify that all of us have to be in person, and you can have entire meetings and special meetings electronically. When we dealt with the bylaw, and this is reaching back into the memories, I want to say about a year-ish ago. There was a lot of conversation surrounding wanting counselors to be in person and not always choosing the Zoom options. There were a limited number of meetings that you could join by Zoom. There were only a couple in a row, I believe.
Okay.
It was either 2 or 3. I've got the bylaw in here. I looked it up yesterday. And you have to have quorum in person, which is 4 in person, so that if there is an issue with technology and the counselor, that you can still have quorum and continue with the meeting. So what that may mean is rescheduling meetings or canceling meetings or moving reports to others should should those arise.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to kind of look ahead and I know that some of council does travel for their day jobs. And so I was just thinking here, if there's anything we can do to make things easier for us, that we should explore that.
The only thing to do would be to change the bylaw. I do agree with the premise of the bylaw on the first council that you do want to encourage counselors to be in person.
Yeah,
I think that, I think Zoom is, while it's fantastic, it is a little bit challenging to run a meeting and to have that same level of conversation.
I think that Ashley might wanted to weigh in as well.
And I was just gonna say, our procedural bylaw is scheduled to come before or on the December, I think, 5th meeting, the first week in
Great.
December, because we are making changes in regards to time. So we are reviewing it and referencing the MGA as well. So it is being
Okay.
renewed.
That's great to know.
Counselor Adams.
Along that same line then, I know Municipal Fair Statutes Amendment Act of 2024 came into effect on October 31st. Now I know or just found out that hasn't actually been printed yet by King's Printer. So it makes it challenging for us to find those, but there's some significant rules in there, changes that I feel would impact not only that bylaw you're referring to, but also our Code of Ethics bylaw and what we're referencing there. Are we going to have that on the December 5th?
We're in discussion with municipal affairs on how to proceed because they did give us feedbacks on changes that are coming. So that's what I'm going to confirm with them. Because even if it's just a light edit this time around, we will have to adjust the time either way. But that's what we're also confirming. So that's why we can, it's scheduled to may come sooner if all the information we have is current and can proceed with that. So we're in discussions to confirm the changes.
Okay.
Okay, nothing more for question. Do you have more? Okay, nothing more for question period. Let's move into our committee minutes. First up is the Lesser Slave Lake Regional Housing Authority. That one's mine. Just a quick update on the wait list. So the wait list for senior self-contained units was at December 2023. At the end of the month, there were 6. Now the wait list is currently 17. Social housing has increased from 49 from December 2023 up to 64. So there is a dramatic increase in social housing needs. What we're finding actually with the senior self-contained units is that previously there would be several individuals that were on the wait list that perhaps weren't ready to move into units. And so they would stay on the wait list, and there were a few vacant units, not a ton, but there were a few vacant units. We have moved past that method of operation at this point, and we do have a wait list that is a true wait list of people wanting to move in. So the demand for seniors housing is increasing exponentially, and the available supply is quite diminished. We are working through the Regional Housing Authority budget. So we're going to continue moving that. Yes.
I don't know if you can answer this or not, but it kind of ties in with with that new Statutes Act. Then, so under the new rules, then any nonprofit housing is totally tax exempt. Are we already considering these items fully tax exempt that are on that housing committee, or do they partially pay taxes? Do you know?
I'd have to take a look at the budget.
Sure.
Offhand, I believe because this one was established under, it's not necessarily it is nonprofit, but it's not a true nonprofit as
Right,
it's
it's
established on a municipal.
Municipal order,
Order,
or I
and
mean,
it's a commission?
provincial order. Was
Yeah, a provincial order, sorry, not municipal order, a provincial order. So I'm actually not sure. I don't believe that there is a expense line item for property taxes in reviewing the budget offhand. I believe that those are already, because they're considered,
Definitely.
yeah, they're already considered province of Alberta though, and because it is the was established under that ministerial order. So it's not quite a not-profit ministerial. That was the word. I got there. Also, we are meeting with the housing deputy minister next week. Previously, there was a P3 partnership plan with $4.5 million of funding, of which there was approximately 2.7 million remaining. So we are wanting the funding that our region was promised to be allocated within our community. So the housing board does have a long-term plan, including drawings for a senior self-contained units. So there's a plan for some land acquisition and construction in order to increase the supply over time. Okay, tourism.
Okay, so the Slave Lake Region Tourism Society will be having our annual general meeting next Thursday, November 21st. This will be at 7 p.m. at the Sawridge First Nation Administrative Building on Caribou Trail. We're looking to fill a board member at large position at this meeting. Please save the date for Beach Fest 2025. This event will be coming on August 9th and 10th, 2025. Currently, we have a contest going right now, and we are looking for theme ideas from the public for this event. We have submitted a grant application with Travel Alberta under the Events and Festivals grant for this Beach Fest season, as we anticipate continued growth in attendance for this coming year. I have begun engagement with Destination Canada and Explore Edmonton in an initial planning meeting regarding the development of a Northern Sky corridor from Edmonton to Yellowknife. We are currently filling out their extensive questionnaire, which outlines all tourism businesses within our region so that we can identify some of the key experiences that we have to offer and join in on this tour. There will be much more further engagement on this as things progress. Our tourism coordinator has recently attended the annual Indigenous Tourism Alberta gathering and gained valuable insight and made great connections there. We continue to work closely with Alberta North Central Alliance on our regional growth plan, and we have had several commitments to this plan during the last few weeks. More to come on this next month.
Thank you. Library.
Okay, library kicked off their fall program back to school with a tour of the library. Grade 1 classes walked over, had them read it, and they read a story, did scavenger hunt, craft, and a quick snack before you came back to school. This is very important in building that relationship and partnership with younger children within the library system. The library collaborated with the local movie theater to do a book to movie special where patrons read a book, then they had a chance to watch the movie afterwards while enjoying popcorn and a drink. Again, building on that collaboration piece I like to see. Library, now I apologize now if I mess up the name, but we're lucky to have Rosanna Ominiak come to the library, and she did a fish scale art how-to. This floors me, the fish. Yeah, I don't know if you guys had the opportunity to see that, but it is very interesting to see, and people have so much fun doing it. October was about had the annual haunted house where they had over 600 community members of all ages attend the haunted house. This seems to be growing and getting bigger and bigger each year. For the month of November, they're collaborating with local agencies to do a men's mental health and solutions forum for November. They brought in Christopher Marks, CEO of VIV, I believe it's called, Mental Health. He gave an incredible speech, also took part in a panel discussion with other local men from the community. And the local fire department had a Movember merchandise for sale with all proceeds going towards men's mental health awareness and research in the community. Thank you.
Okay, there's no update for CEC, so we'll move on to Municipal Planning Commission.
We approved a bunkhouse in the industrial area. Pretty light meeting.
Okay, there's also no update for waste. Councillor Hughes,
Motion to accept the committee minutes as presented.
motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call to question, those in favor. And that is carried. Move forward to State of Lake.
I attended the emergency services game yesterday where our local emergency services took on High Prairie's team, and we were victorious 10-6. So go Slave Lake.
Fantastic. Councillor Hughes.
I just wanted to raise some awareness about an event that's coming on this upcoming Thursday from 2:30 to 7 p.m. It's the Northern Haven Support Society's annual open house, and they're also having a spaghetti dinner fundraiser. So that will be at the Legacy Center this coming Thursday. Great local group to support, and they always have lots of information to share with the community. So I invite everyone to attend.
I have a few. Today we raised the Métis flag for Métis Week, which is November 12th to 15th. Métis citizens across Alberta come together during this week to celebrate Métis history, culture, and traditions through a week of events that are generally hosted by the Métis government of Alberta. I would also like to give a shout out to our operations team for the timely installation of our new winter lights. They look fabulous on Main Street and the connectors, and just in time for the Chamber of Commerce's annual holiday parade and our light up Slave Lake. And they really do look fantastic. Also wanted to thank Slave Lake Legion Branch 110 for hosting the Remembrance Day ceremony yesterday. It was a beautiful tribute and way to honor our veterans and all those who continue to serve. Counselor Hughes.
Motion to adjourn.
Any further discussion? Call the question, those in favor. And that is carried. I did look this way first.
know, it wasn't.